I asked a source to name one offensive Auburn Tiger who's standing out to them. Their answer, it might surprise you.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Joining me as he does every Friday, we're dapping it up with Montgomery radio legend Darrell Dapprich. This is March. The Auburn Tigers play later today. We'll discuss that towards the end of today's show. Darrell, yesterday, I asked a source within the program. I said, okay, we've had pretty much another full week go by. Give me the name of one offensive player that has caught your eye that's really winning over the favor of his teammates. And the answer was Robert Lewis. My follow-up question was, are all of his reps at wide receiver coming from the slot? And he said, yes, all of them. So Robert Lewis doing what he needs to do at the slot position for the Auburn Tigers. Darrell, your thoughts?
Well, I thought that when they got him from Georgia State, which, remember, I was very, very excited. I mean,
yeah.
This news just fires me up unbelievably because I really, really liked this kid when Auburn got him in the portal. And I was trying to temper my expectations just to not overhype him. But I've talked about the Troy connection and watching a lot of Sun Belt games. I really loved this kid and thought he was a really good player. And then I also thought, well, he'd be ideal in the slot, that he's not an outside guy, but in the slot, he is like exactly what Auburn wants from that position. And when Javaris Johnson left, it just made sense. So the fact that Auburn got him at his productivity and where he is going to be playing enables a guy like Cam Coleman, obviously, who you know is going to be outside, or a Perry Thompson or Cam Brown. Man, it gives you some versatility. It's one position in the receiving room that you really typically don't have to worry about, and you know that he's going to hold that down, and I really like that. I think that's big.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. So when you look at Robert Lewis and what he did a year ago at Georgia State, he played 141 snaps in the slot and then 611 out wide. So, I mean, this is a guy who he had some moments in the slot, and 5'11", 185 is what Georgia State had him at. He may be a little bit larger now that he's at Auburn, but I think he's got the skill set, like you said, but to hear that he's doing it against SEC competition is encouraging, because I'm with you. Like, he passed the eye test for me. We talked about how productive he was at Georgia State, and he's the most productive receiver in this room right now, which sadly that bar is lower than we would all like it to be. But we kind of sang a similar song a year ago with all of the older wide receivers that transferred in, and none of them really did a whole lot. And so now it does seem that this is different. People weren't texting me saying Nick Mardner, like, we can't quit watching Nick Mardner. They did, however, say that about Shane Hooks. And so, we don't really know what happened there. But I do think this does feel a little bit different. And also the fact that it's a slot receiver situation, I do think that that's going to be more of just, can he create space and get open in short bursts? And it seems like he has a skill set and he's able to do that.
Well, a couple of counterpoints. People might say, well, gosh, he played a majority of the snaps outside. Why do you think he's a prototypical slot guy? Well, it's because Georgia State didn't have Cam Coleman, Cam Brown, and others out, Perry Thompson, coming in to play outside. They played him outside out of necessity because they didn't have the other dudes to do it. So that's why he'll play slot, even though he is capable of playing outside. It's about making the whole wide receiver room as strong as you can. Yeah. Secondly, I get the whole Shane Hooks thing, and I really respect that, because we want to pump the brakes and temper expectations. I would say this, however, the level of competition that the SWAC plays against, as opposed to the Sun Belt plays against, is night and day.
Sure.
So although the SWAC plays those money games against a Division I Power 5 school, that's it, like one game. The rest of them are against, SWAC schools or the other conference, the MEAC conference. So Sun Belt plays 3 games out of conference that's against the big boys, and then even their football inside the Sun Belt. You know this, Zach. I mean, to look at the teams and what they've done and how good they play. It's better competition than what Shane Hook saw.
That's true. That's true. Let me dream for a second here. And yes, I'm a Patriots fan, wearing a Patriots shirt. But could Robert Lewis be like the most recent receiver that Hugh Freeze has put into the NFL? Now it's Demario Douglas at Liberty. And this was his breakup of snaps in 2022 at Liberty under Freeze. Demario Douglas played 516 in the slot and 100 out wide. And that could be a similar kind of ratio of how they use Robert Lewis. Lewis is a little bit larger than Demario Douglas. Demario Douglas is 5'8", 190-ish. But he had an effective rookie season for the Patriots. He was obviously very explosive and effective in Hugh Freeze's system at Liberty. Could that be a comp that we should be looking further into?
Yeah, it's a great comp. I think a couple of variables that I'd like to see is Malik Willis was throwing the ball to Douglas, right? So there's a little bit
not in 22. He would have in 21. Is that right?
I thought you're right. Maybe he left in 21 and not 22. I thought he left for the NFL in 22. So maybe not. So it would have been not the quarterback that they just had last year, Salter. It would have been another guy.
I think that's right.
Okay, so, but I mean, we're talking about body of work to put somebody in the NFL, though, not just 1 year. And he did have Malik Willis thrown to him a year or two. Second of all, it depends on what the offense looks like. If Hugh Freeze truly wants to get to a 55 pass, 45 run ratio, then Lewis could get more touches, and that would be an opportunity. So I would want to see the type of quarterback play that we get, and then I want to see what the offense looks like run to pass or pass to run ratio for the opportunity for touches. And if that happens, then absolutely, I think he's got the skill set. I mean, I really do. I think he's a really good receiver, and I think Auburn fans are going to be pleasantly surprised. But that wouldn't be out of the question. Absolutely not.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm dreaming a little bit. Demario Douglas, I think, is a very, very good receiver, but there's some similarities there. And I think Robert Lewis, like, he passes the eye test too. And I think the other receivers that we kind of compared him to, as far as, you know, the older wide receivers transferring in, they passed the eye test last year as well. So I'm going to pump the brakes to some extent, but the fact that I said, hey, give me one offensive player that's standing out to you. They said Robert Lewis, all from the slot. So worth noting. I love it. Worth noting.
That's encouraging.
Do you think Lewis, with him essentially being a slot guy, how do you think that impacts Jay Fair, and how do you think it impacts Bryce Kane?
Well, Jay Fair will be the most impacted because obviously I think that that's where they want him lined up. That's where he plays the majority of snaps. I think Bryce Kane is versatile enough that he can move outside. I really do.
As a freshman, you think?
I mean, listen, this guy supposedly is advanced in his route running, his absolute speed. Don't know, remains to be seen. Just taking a guess from things that we've heard from a scouting standpoint. He's a little bit more advanced coming in as a freshman, and he'll have the spring under his belt. So, but if he doesn't move inside, it just means you're rotating 3 dudes. But I would imagine Lewis, with the experience he has, is going to get a majority of the snaps. And that would kind of put Bryce Kane as the odd man out, because I think Fair will get more than Kane, as he should with the experience.
Agreed.
So maybe Kane does move outside. I don't know, but it'll affect him. It'll have to. There's only so many balls to go around, and you're going to throw the ball to Cam Coleman, and you're going to throw the ball to Cam Brown, and by God, you're going to throw the ball to Fairweather. And it sounds like you're going to throw the ball to Rico Walker with the kind of spring he's having. So
he's impressed me.
Yeah, there's only so many balls, right? That might do good for a read later. And so I think that I think that opportunity is there's just so many and then we don't know how many times Auburn's going to put it in the air. So so many factors to consider.
Yeah, and once again, like, it's a good situation to have. You're asking the question at several position groups. It's like, okay, who's going to step up and win the job? Not like, okay, what's the best option here? And obviously, you're answering that question both ways. But I just think the floor of production is higher, because I think the talent's just better. So speaking of balls in the air, today's show is brought to you by our friends at Manscaped, the spring cleaning champions. This season, make sure to groom your carpets and drapes with the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. Thoughts on your carpets and drapes just real quick, Darrell?
I use hardwood floors and mini blinds.
Okay, got it. Clear out that winter bush with Manscaped's Lawnmower 5.0 and watch your confidence bloom like the springtime flowers. Embrace the season and join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our special offer. Go to manscaped.com and use code LOCKEDON for 20% off plus free shipping. After using Manscaped, I can finally say I have caught the spring fever, baby. And introducing, sure, Auburn won the SEC. They're the SEC champs. But the season champ this offseason is the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, all one word, at manscaped.com. That's 20% off. Free shipping with the code LOCKEDON at manscaped.com. Nothing like a little spring cleaning in your pants. What it says. That's what it says. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Darrell, you use Game Time. I use Game Time.
Yes.
I needed it for a few tickets actually earlier in the week for baseball. It's so easy to use. You just type in what you want to see, and you have the confidence that what it's showing you is the lowest price for that specific seat because of the Game Time guarantee. Darrell,
I used it for some spring training tickets just last week. I provided some for some friends that were meeting us there. And so, yeah, it's a great feature. It's a great app. And I love the feature of the virtual seating. That's the best.
Yep. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Darrell, I also asked the question, okay, who are some defensive players that we need to be talking about? Who's killing it in practice right now? And there's a few. Gage Keys having a good spring this week. Dory Maiusi, Sylvester Smith. And I asked, they confirmed it. The last name they said was Griffin Speaks. Who do you want to start with?
Well, the two that I saw with my own eyes that I can totally concur and agree and, nodding my head. Yes, I am endorsing this. I saw Gage Keys, and I saw Maiusi up close last week in that window. And I was impressed by both. Remember, we saw Dorian side by side with Austin Keys. Some Gage Keys looked very physically put together and explosive coming off the ball in the drills.
He's lean,
that he was doing.
Man. He's lean for
He's
defensive
very
lineman.
lean, and he looked really good and really impressive. In fact, I just didn't realize he was that size. When I
and I don't know if it was with you, Darrell, or with somebody else, but when I first saw Keys on the back of his jersey when I was standing next to the defensive lineman, I actually thought, oh, is this Austin Keys? Are the linebackers down here too? And then I put two and two together. I'm like, oh, that's Gage Keys. But he almost looks like a linebacker.
Yeah, he definitely looks like a middle linebacker, an oversized linebacker. But he is very lean, and that'll enable him to get the gaps and do what he needs to do. I hope that enables him to be an effective pass rusher. I think the book on him was he's a good run stopper. But if he's that lean and that explosive and that athletic, it'd be wonderful to get a push from that position on the field.
Yeah, we need it. And we've talked about it before, but that's probably a position that they're not done adding bodies to. And we'll see, if Gage Keys can kind of hold on to that potential starting job. I guess he's the favorite to be the starter right now. And we'll see if Malik Blockton can kind of push him for that, or if they go out and get a transfer. But all in all, Gage Keys being one of those guys. And Dorian Maiusi doesn't surprise me. He was made available to media last week. Seems like an impressive young man. Very energetic. Has a lot to say. And you could tell he's smart. You could tell he's processing everything when he speaks. And I don't think it's just because he's from Duke. I think he's just an inherently smart kid. But I'm excited to see what he does there. And then Sylvester Smith is a guy that I've been high on. I've said that he could be one of the winners of the offseason. I'm incredibly high on Sylvester Smith.
It's going to be hard for him, I think, now if he does, I guess Laquan Robinson's a first-year player too, although he's a JUCO, has a little more experience from a collegiate level. But if Sylvester Smith has the opportunity to beat out, I think Thompson's a fixture. Jarian Thompson's a fixture there. But I think that the Robinson-Sylvester Smith race is a real thing. And, Robinson is bigger physically. He's definitely more of a bruiser, of a thumper type safety. Sylvester Smith looked very, very athletic in coverage to me as far as how he turned his hips, tracked the ball, went from one corner to the other. I mean, that's the thing that's very underrated in the safety position. When the ball's in the air, how fast are you from going from one side of the field to the other and tracking that? And he looked really good. Really good.
Sure.
And so I like the depth there. Love the secondary, like the depth, and very excited about the other two names because they're at key, I think, positions. You lost so many defensive linemen and then, the linebacking position with Nixon and such.
What do you think about Griffin Speaks being on this list that was sent to me? Transfer safety. I guess he's a preferred walk-on.
From
Is that
Baylor,
his deal?
right?
From Baylor.
Yeah. He was a Ron Roberts protege. I think that's where he got.
That's right.
Ron Roberts brought him. Don't know. I know he's the words that I've heard is he's a leader on the field. He knows the defenses. He gets people lined up in the right spot. I get all that. I don't know how he beats out some of the names that we said, but there seems to be a specific role and a specific package that he may play.
Who knows?
And if you can't keep him off the field, you can't keep him off the field. Then he's done enough.
What a great situation that would be. Like, wow. Okay.
He just didn't stand out to me at practice last week, but I may have been.
I haven't noticed him at all.
Yeah.
I haven't noticed him at all.
I mean, that's so whoever
that means
is
nothing though.
Yeah, it doesn't. You have one good day of practice, and that's whoever's there feeding you this information, and then it changes things.
That's true. And then I just want to mention Caleb Harris as we're talking about DBs. That's just a guy that I keep hearing about, and Coach Freeze talked about him earlier this week. So
that's a guy that, with my own eyeballs, I saw with tremendous closing speed that made a play on the ball that led to an interception because he got there right when he needed to when the ball got there, and he closed quickly. There's no, I mean, when I saw it, I'm like, where'd this dude come from?
Right.
And that's good. That speed from point A to point B is very crucial. Yeah.
No, several of us, myself included, were like, who's 18? Who's wearing 18?
I couldn't figure it out at first. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's usually a good thing when people are asking who is, whatever your number is. So we'll see. All right. This is March. The Auburn Tigers play in the NCAA tournament later today. What can you expect? We tell you next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Darrell, this week's March Madness bracket highlight brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest, just like any of the all-new 2024 Nissan SUVs. These guys were able to take it to the next level. We're talking about the Auburn Tigers. They can only be described as a pathfinder. They've been thrilling to watch and have created a lane for themselves after claiming the top spot in the SEC, and will take on Yale later today. One word, Darrell, that sums up Nissan. Give me one, just real quick.
Unique.
Could have gone with adventure. Could have gone with epic. Could have gone with adventure again. Nissans are great. You can take the Nissan Rogue, the Nissan Pathfinder, or the Nissan Armada. Somebody earlier texted me and said, I was a Nissan Pathfinder. I said, no. I do not have that honor. But you can go find your next big adventure. Just go to shopnissanusa.com. Darrell, the Auburn Tigers play in the NCAA tournament tonight, or this afternoon, rather. They take on Yale. Little classic 4-13 matchup. And other years, I've gone into the first round thinking, okay, there's a chance Auburn could lose this, or, maybe some nerves. For whatever reason, and maybe this is a bad thing, for whatever reason, this matchup just does not concern me at all, because I don't think they're going to have an answer for Auburn's size down low.
I agree with that 100%. And I also think that depth, Yale plays seven guys. And so, you talk about Auburn's depth really being a factor against SEC teams. Imagine an Ivy League school that's only got seven. Now, they shoot lights out. They're very, very good at taking care of the basketball. Yale is. They don't turn it over. But again, they're playing seven guys, and they
make the smart play?
They might make the smart play. Yes, I would agree with that. But keep in mind, they're not turning it over with the kind of defenses that they're seeing in the Ivy League. I mean, Penn and Cornell Isn't Auburn and Tennessee, Kentucky, and Alabama. So I think that's a difference. Then I think, athleticism is going to – I just don't think Yale has been guarded like they're about to get defended this afternoon. I think it's going to be a whole different world for them.
I'm with you. I mean, you can do so much, but shooting in the Ivy League and shooting with Katie Johnson breathing down your neck are two different things. They're two different things. Then obviously, with Jalen Williams and Janai Broome, I think Auburn can play defense against anybody. Like that's just not really what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned with, okay, do they have a dry spell on offense for too long against the wrong team? And I don't think Yale is that team just because I think Auburn can lock them down. But when you go against San Diego State in the next round, probably, or, obviously UConn in Sweet 16, like you can't have those dry offensive spells. Like your defense can only do so much against certain teams. And I just don't think Yale's that team. Darrell, I think Janai Broome, Jalen Williams, Chad Baker, Mazzara, I think they're going to be a problem for Yale. And because of that, give me the Tigers, but they're a double-digit favorite, and I don't think that's enough. I think Auburn really takes it to them later today.
Well, Yale is going to try to limit possessions because they know they can't get into a game where it gets high scoring or Auburn has more possessions. And the way you gain more possessions is obviously rebounding the basketball and turning it over. But if Yale does play that slow, deliberate style, the problem with that is once you fall behind, you're cooked. There isn't that ability to come back with a really dynamic offense. The second factor is, yes, Yale has some guys that have shot it really well. But again, they're being guarded by Ivy League defenders in an Ivy League cracker box that seats 2,500 people. Three-point shooting in the NCAA tournament is a lot different deal with new rims and cavernous arenas with the backdrops. It matters. If people think it doesn't, it does. It's a lot different shooting in those types of arenas that seat 16,000 as opposed to your cozy little gyms that seat 2,000. Mm-hmm. And again, who's guarding you is different. I mean, Auburn has the ability to just keep throwing players at you, coming in waves, wave after wave off the bench. And with playing 7, legs go away. That's the key. In the Ivy League and playing 8 people rotation, whoever was guarding them may have had to expend energy because they had to play 30 minutes. Maybe they didn't want to get in foul trouble. Auburn doesn't do that. They come at you, and they come at you like the Tasmanian devil. Yep. Because they don't have to worry about foul trouble and depth and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just not concerned about this matchup. Maybe that should make me worried. I don't know. But Janai Broome last week was the best player in college basketball. There's nothing you can do to convince me otherwise. Just the eye test. His stats were great. He's the best player in the SEC, whatever. And his play is one thing. But, man, Darrell, it seems like something clicked with him. It seemed like something clicked almost like what we saw happen with Chuma Okeke in that Final Four run, obviously before he got injured. But it seemed like something clicked where he realized nobody can stop me. I'm better than everybody else on the floor. And we knew it, and we saw glimpses of it throughout the season and in certain games and all of that. But we saw it for a full week. We saw it in back-to-back-to-back games that resulted in Auburn bringing home a trophy and getting to hang another banner. And to me, Darrell, I think if Janai Broome keeps playing that way, watch out, because I'm going to be yelling a lot later today.
He's so versatile for a big. First of all, he woke up and something clicked when there was a particular game where he had like 4 points in the first half, and then he went for like 16 in the second half. Sure. And he's never looked back. The second thing is his versatility is what makes him so dangerous. He can play with his back to the basket, do that little spin move. He's so quick along the baseline where he pivots, but he also can face the basket, put it on the floor, and go by you. Yep. He's shown the ability to hit a 3. And don't underestimate, he is the best passer in America from that position, the best big from a passing. He's got guard vision.
Yeah.
And that is knowing the angles and where to find cutters and guys that are open on the wings. That is such a dangerous weapon to have. So and he's a lockdown defender.
Yeah.
He really is such an elite defender. So yeah, right now he's checking all the boxes.
Yeah. And we talked about how I think the big mismatches around the basket. I think Dylan Cardwell, I'm calling it now. Dylan Cardwell has a moment this tournament where we say, yes, couldn't do this without Dylan Cardwell. So
they got a 7-footer, but they have a 7-footer that's used to playing against guys that are 6'6".
Not all 7-footers are the same. We all know this.
Yeah, and he's used to being significantly taller. Cardwell will come in off the bench and pound on him a little bit. It's going to be a different world for him.
Yeah, Dylan and Janai and Jalen and Chad do not care how tall you are. They don't care. They don't care. They may respect it. They don't care. Score prediction. Auburn, Yale.
Auburn 84, Yale 61.
I'm going to go a little lower. I'm going to go 78-60. So we're in the same ballpark there. Darrell, how can people check out everything that you've got going on?
Follow me on X.
I'm sorry to cut you off. We're going to go live after the
Yes.
game, regardless, later today, win or lose, hopefully win, but we will be live here. So be sure to check that out.
One of the ways you can follow me live after every basketball game. You can catch me on X, DAP6410, and then Wednesdays and Fridays on Locked On Auburn, wherever you get your podcast.
Yes. Please like the video. Please subscribe. Come back later today. We'll see you then. This has been Locked On Auburn.